I miss tube microphones. I had to do this on tube mic, so I'm going to mime this on Zoom. I hope you enjoy it. I have a quick update. Alika's Attic. That's right. Alika's Attic. LaunchLeft the label will be releasing 2 Alika's Attic songs on River's 50th birthday this coming August 23rd, 2020. And in keeping with our mission, we're also going to be launching 8 new artists on the ramp up to River's birthday. So starting May 10th, this Sunday, every other Sunday, you're going to hear from a brand new artist, and we will share with you all about them, and you'll hear about them on the podcast. And I just wanted to give you that update because I'm really excited about it. Artists helping artists. The service you do for others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. That was Muhammad Ali. I love that quote, and I wanted to say it right just once. So there you have it. Enjoy this episode. LaunchLeft Podcast. Podcast and we will launch left. Hi, I'm Rain Phoenix, and you're listening to LaunchLeft Podcast, a space for famed creatives to launch the next wave of music rebels, and an intentional space to highlight and empower all artists for whom radical creativity is not a choice but a necessity. You can follow us everywhere at LaunchLeft. Today's special guest is a multi-hyphenate genius. Really, I don't use that word all the time, but for him, I do. I reserve it for Jack Black. He just brings the energy of joy wherever he goes, and he is by far one of the coolest rebel creatives. We're so glad to have him on the show. Please welcome him to LaunchLeft at Home.
Hi.
Hi, Jack Black.
Good to see you.
You too. Guess what
a glorious background.
Oh, I know. I'm trying. Are you trying for a virtual? I'm sick of seeing the back of my house.
Yeah, it's enviable. I need to get a green screen, gorgeous garden tableau behind me.
I actually don't have a green screen, which is why my hair looks like it's been messed with.
Oh, yeah. Well, now that you say that, yeah, it does look a little low tech.
You have a green screen because I know this because guess what I binge watched last night and could not stop with my boyfriend.
Were you watching a little Jablinski Games?
Oh my gosh, we could not stop. We were laughing like episode.
Oh my God.
So fun. Thank you for doing that, for taking time to make a YouTube show that is absolutely joyful and entertaining.
Well, it started out as our pleasure and it has become our obsession.
Yeah.
We bring strange internet merriment to the world.
Yeah.
Become our new mission.
Every Friday.
Well, kind of. It used to be every Friday, but then we that collapsed, and now it's just coming soon.
Oh, okay.
It's a little more relaxed than that. We were like, why do we have to feel this pressure of like a regular show that's on a regular time schedule? It's our schedule. No, we don't have a boss telling us, when we have to perform or deliver.
Whoa, you be careful. You might be swaying me to suddenly do a LaunchLeft every 2 years.
No, you gotta go more than that, but you don't have to be right on the nuggets, right? I guess there's something to it though, because then people expect it at a certain time and then they look forward to that time. I get that, but it's just harder for me to work within the confines of that structure.
I think too, once you get to like 4 million followers, you're probably golden to be like, guess what? This week it's happening on a Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to coast this week. Going to recharge the batteries.
Wow. How are you holding up there in quarantine?
We are getting by every day. It feels like less and less surreal. Every day that goes by, you start to go, okay, this is the new normal. Now I believe it. Because for the first few weeks, I was like, this is a dream. I'm going to wake up from this. This can't be happening. This is going to end tomorrow or in a few days, and now I'm like, no, we're hunkered down for the foreseeable future. But we've come closer together in some ways. It's been a good thing for the family to have more quality time. But there's definitely been some snippiness too and some cranky stir craziness.
Yeah.
It's been real.
Now, how if I may ask, because this is a big curiosity for me, and one of the questions I always ask is, how did music find you? Because you're such a musical human being, and I'm curious, like the first time, that it moved you and you felt like it was going to be part of your world nonstop.
I love that question. No one asks me how music found me. But I remember, I have very early memories of the first time I liked music. Like the first song that I liked was I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. I heard it on the radio, and it was like an explosion of color and emotions that I had in my little 6-year-old brain. Just like, oh, yeah. I need to hear that again. I needed it again, and in my brain, I thought, if I listen to the radio at the same time tomorrow, what time is it? It's 3:00. If I listen to this radio station at this time tomorrow, they'll play this song again, because I didn't know how radio worked back then. I thought everything was like some kind of a time schedule, and I did listen the next day, and it was not that song again. But yeah, there was that song, and then there was ABBA, Take a Chance on Me.
Oh, yes.
I guess music came to me with a sweetness. Those songs are real happy.
Yeah.
And that was like, there's a great burst, a happy drug burst that came with those songs. My parents were avid Middle Eastern folk dancers.
Whoa!
So I have early memories of going with them to different clubs around Los Angeles where Middle Eastern folk dance would take place. So there's like,
that is so cool.
Yeah.
So wait, are you of Middle Eastern descent, or were they just fans of the dance?
They were just fans of that dance. Yeah, no. My descendants are we got Scotch Irish, Polish, Russian, German, and that's all that comes to mind. I'm sure I'm forgetting a quarter of something, but
Scots.
Yeah, Scots.
Wow,
Scots.
so interesting. So then, because I do like Middle Eastern music and food.
Yeah.
And so you heard that at a young age, which was definitely more complex than just happy pop songs. I'm sure that embedded that kind of music.
Yeah, and the kind of dance where sometimes they would hold hands just by the pinkies, and there'd be a lot of this, and then like dancing in a circle with the grapevine step, and really fun energy in the room. I could see why they were drawn to it. So yeah, those are my earliest memories of music.
And then after finding it, how did you realize, oh wait, I can make it too? Were you pretty young when you started to want to play an instrument?
Well, I started off just singing. When my mom and dad divorced, they had my dad moved out. He moved to another house. I was like around 10. And I remember my mom had people come to, we had a big house. So she rented out some of the rooms in our house to different people, and they all listened to different music. And I would listen to some of their albums when they weren't around. And I got super into like Simon and Garfunkel, and who was the other? They had a Yes album that I listened to.
Yes.
And one of them had Fleetwood Mac, and I would listen to these albums and I would just sing along, and I would go to the mirror in the living room and I would sing along and pretend like I was in front of an audience and that there was a million people watching me and that I was a big star. I had a very active showbiz fantasy life. I didn't have a showbiz family, but I had a showbiz like dream from early on. For some reason, I had the hunger. I think it's part of like living in LA, growing up in LA. Just you feel like the beating heart of the industry, and it's infectious. The excitement of that. That's how I think I came to my interest in music. It was part of that, like, hunger for attention and the excitement of the showbiz game. If I'm being honest, doesn't sound very pure. It sounds like a classic showbiz kid kind of vibe.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between, you know, that and actually bringing it to the point where you land there. You know what I mean? It's a long road. So you obviously were driven past just the energy of Hollywood and where you lived,
Well,
right?
yeah.
And you really were driven to be an artist. And
Well, that's always the question. It's like, how much of what your art is just your love of that thing, like you love music and you love that kind of music, and how much of it is driven by, oh, I just want to be famous, I just want to be, you know, loved by millions of people. And if that balance is off, the art will suffer. So you got to try to remind yourself constantly what the most important thing is finding that beauty, finding that thing that initially like turned you on to music and art in the first place.
yeah, and do you feel like this is just a theory I had while you were talking, then I thought, well, oh, maybe it has to do with just being authentically you as a creator, right? Like not being like, oh, maybe people won't like this, which is what I really like about you. Is and most of the artists I like are they're unapologetically who they are. So it might not vibe with everyone, but they're not going to suddenly like change the way they make a song or how they are and you know what I mean? Like their craft doesn't change because half the world might think it's poo-poo or whatever. And that's what I love about that. That's like a true creative spirit. So yes, you might want, you know, accolade, like there's all these things, but if that's the driving force, it won't, to me, it never lifts off. I can tell. I think most people can tell when your heart's not in the like, I just want to create. That's what I get excited by is artists that are like, you can tell they can't help it. They cannot create, right? They're who they are and they're going to do their thing, and you can like it or not like it, but it's what they have to do. It's how it's water, it's air, it's, you know, it's how they breathe. And I love that. That's a turn on to me, as you know, and in the creative world, it's like, yes, you're doing it. I might not like it all the time, but you're at least doing it.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it, about being your authentic self. And so, you know, your journey as an artist really is a journey to your actual self, because we don't even completely know ourselves. And the process is a process of finding what resonates with us, because we are as much, you know, the things we love to see and hear and take in, that's who we are, just as much as whatever we decide to like put out into the world.
Yeah.
It's something to think about. Yeah, because when you find something that resonates with you, that you love, you consciously or unconsciously make that part of your artwork, right? Your influences, the people that you admire and that you are a fan of, eventually it's like you do a collaboration with them in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's true, unconsciously or consciously. I find that a lot of times things happen unconsciously that I can decipher and understand later. Creatively, you know what I mean? Like, why am I so into this right now and doing this? Why do I feel like I can't, you know, make it through a day without this being what I do? Like, this doesn't even make sense at the time, perhaps, right? And then later you uncover like, oh, I needed to process this and that. And so I like the idea of, I've always liked the idea of the muse, right? In music, like the muses, the three muses that take people, like they're like the goddesses that like music, they inspire you, they take you on journeys, and then you're like, whoa, that's why I did that thing. That it's not really in our control, that we're not necessarily, I always think of like conduit art mostly. It's like, that's not me. I'm not like great at anything, probably. It's like something I've downloaded and I'm going to do it. And maybe it will resonate, maybe it won't, but I have to do it. It just I'm being told what to do.
Right. Well, it makes me think of one of my favorite bands, Guided by Voices.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what being a conduit is, right?
Yeah.
It's a little voice inside. You don't know where it comes from, but it tells you where to go.
Yeah.
I like that Craig Wertrin. He does sound baths occasionally on. Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah.
I went to one live one time. It was a trip. You just like lay down on the ground and he just creates sounds, and it kind of puts you in a trance state. It's pretty cool.
I do like sound baths. I haven't had one in a while. I'm sound dirty.
Yeah.
I need a sound bath.
Yeah. But while you were just saying about being your authentic self and like finding your voice, finding your voice is such a big deal for me, because I remember as a musician and an actor, I struggled for years to like find a handhold, and it wasn't until I started writing songs with Kyle, my partner in Tenacious D, that I kind of found my own voice and my sense of humor, and found, started expressing myself, my true self, in a way that I hadn't before. That then I started getting some momentum, and the engine started revving, and I started finding real satisfaction in the work. And it was like, that's why when anyone ever asks me, hey, what should I do if I want to get into acting and music and into the industry, I was like, you got to find your own voice. I recommend writing, because if all you're doing is going on auditions and saying, how can I please this director or this casting director? What can I do so they will like me? Then you're never really, I don't think that's a great way to find your voice and find yourself. If you're always trying to like second guess what they want, you have to bring something more to the table and say, this is who I am. Do you want this? Because this is what I'm. In fact, I don't even care if you want it. I'm going to do it.
Right.
Like a self-starting mechanism.
Yeah. I get that 100%.
And I feel like that more and more is an essential quality. Yeah. Do it yourself on a zero budget, and then you'll find your voice that way.
Yeah. And it sounds like for you, it was in collaboration as well. Do it with a friend, like explore something with, was that, did that help?
Well,
did you suggest that, or was that like not so much?
For me, I don't think I could have done it without Kyle. I'm a real collaborative spirit by nature.
Yeah.
I need a bouncing off spirit. I need someone else to work with, because in the vacuum I can do stuff. I can write in a vacuum, but everyone's different. Everyone has their own process, but I recommend finding a Kyle that you can work with, even if it's just to say, let's work on something together. What do you think? And then they say something, and you go, wrong, but it's gonna be this.
Yeah.
You need someone else to be wrong sometimes just to get to what's right.
I totally get that. It's interesting. I agree with that in the sense that I always know what I don't want. Right?
Yeah,
you don't necessarily
totally
know what you want until someone presents what you don't want. And that's
so important, though.
Right? Yeah.
It's that is in itself a handhold. Being able to say what it definitely is not going to be that, then that's like a.
Yeah. By the way, the chess episode, come on, that was so stupid.
Oh yeah, that was early. That's a true story of me and Kyle. We used to play chess together when we were first starting out songwriting together. We were in a theater company called the Actors Gang back in the we go way back to the 80s. But yeah, he was teaching me how to play guitar, and I would bring over Jack in the Box, and we would hang out and smoke pot and just riff and jam, and we were just like brothers, kind of, kindred spirits. And we were competitive though, and we would play games, and we played chess, and he had a way of torturing me by making me feel not as smart as him, or teasing me when he beat me. And I just wanted to beat him so bad. And it got so heated one time when he was teasing me about brain size, that his brain was larger than mine, that I'm ashamed to say it, but it came to blows. Now, I didn't strike him in the face, but I did punch him as hard as I could in the arm. He just laughed, and we got over it quickly. But it's weird, because I had half brothers and a half sister, but I didn't have any like full siblings that I grew up with. So it was a thing that I didn't know quite how to deal with it. Kyle was now like kind of like my brother, and he had brothers growing up, so he already knew how to navigate that mental torture of competitiveness with siblings. And I didn't get it. It took me a while before I could like deal with that kind of anger. I didn't really know that kind of anger.
That's the way you all reenacted it, or in the thing, was perfect. Like I could feel the rage. Like when you're a kid and someone just pokes the same, spot over and over again, and you don't have to deal with those feelings of anger, you do just. I totally understood where you were coming from. You just lash out and punch your friend in the arm.
Well, it's something that people don't really talk about. People talk about road rage a lot, but video game rage is also real. Like, if you're getting into games enough and you're super competitive like I am, you can blow a gasket just screaming at the screen. The words and the things that come out of my mouth, I'm like, oh my God, I hope there's no Russian spies listening to me right now, because I'm saying some awful things. There's always someone listening, right?
Yeah, if your iPhone's that nearby, for sure.
Oh God. Yeah, I have more tales of video game rage that I haven't told yet, that I look forward to revealing in the future.
Let's go back to music a little bit, and I want to know what your influences, well, you kind of did share that. That's how music found you, with some of the early formative people to some extent.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that I was curious about is what you care about deeply, like what, whether it's a form of activism or a cause, or how do you use your art to uplift, as a force for good?
I'm a big believer in the power of musical creativity, and also theater, the healing powers of theater. Working with kids doing theater. There, my first acting teacher ever, Deb Devine, has a theater called 24th Street Theater in downtown LA. And she works with inner city youths, and kids all over the country come to 24th Street Theater just to experience theater. And I think she's an incredible teacher and healer in a way. And my old pal Tim Robbins from the Actors Gang Theater that I was telling you about, where me and Kyle met, he's been doing theater programs in prisons. Wow. And getting these prisoners to work on themselves just through improvisational classes. And it seems just like goofing around, but it's actually like kind of deep and important work. And they say that the prisoners that have gone through the full class and like done theater productions with Tim, when they leave prison system, there's a real low rate of recidivism. Like it helps people get back into society, and that's like real tangible results. So I'm all about that. I think that's an amazing program. And obviously lately I've just been getting into feeding America and feeding the homeless, and figuring out ways to help each other in these times of pain, and it feels like we're heading into like deep economic stress times. So I think it's important that everyone get involved to some degree. And I still haven't even fully wrapped my head around like what is the most effective way to help people get back on their feet. I'm very fortunate. Obviously, I've been able to not work and not really feel the pain of that. But I know that there's millions of people out there, let's say billions of people, that don't have the luxury of being able to sit back and wait for the storm to pass. I've donated time and energy to United Way and AmeriCares. There's a benefit coming up,
Oh,
doing
cool.
a little Tenacious D performance in an AmeriCares benefit concert. That's a virtual concert that's going to have a lot of great comedians and musicians on your various channels. I think it will be simulcast on Jablinski Games.
What?
If you want to check that out.
Awesome. Sounds good.
You know who's rad?
Yeah.
Who I know has been a guest on your show is Flea with his
Yeah.
Silver Lake Music Conservatorium.
Yeah.
I was so impressed with his outreach with music.
It's incredible what he's
How
done.
generous is he with his time and energy?
I know. And
It's a beautiful thing.
It's just so truly who he is. Again, like he's authentically that generous, but to have created a platform through the school and a way to do that in real time and enlist other artists to do it. So it is powerful. And you're right. Like, I love that you said music is something you champion, full stop. That's the main, because that any kind of art for kids, like it just expands your mind. It's like conscious. It's adding new cellular makeup to you somehow. I think when you're learn music or fine art or whatever it is that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I think I heard your wife is a painter, right?
Yeah.
With art, is that right?
She's a painter, an animator, a musician, a cellist, a puppeteer.
Whoa.
She's one of those where you can't nail her down. She's got art coming out of all her pores.
That's so rad.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of your wife, part of the show is asking our guests to highlight a musical artist they like, someone that they
totally
want to talk about. And I know you shared with me that you wanted to highlight the Haden Triplets.
Yeah.
And it just so happens your wife is one of those Haden Triplets.
Yeah, I love the Haden Triplets.
I love that record.
Isn't it beautiful?
Thank you so much for when you shared it with me. I was listening to it this morning, and I feel like during this time, especially, to have that to be brought back to sort of that era in music, comforting. Like I felt so comforted by the songs, and anyway, I have a bit of a surprise, which is that I'm going to bring all three of them in here.
Yeah.
Are you down?
I'm loving that. Is it really going to happen? Is this really going to work?
I think it's going to work. Let's see if Oz can make this happen.
Oh, yeah, we do need Oz, the wizard.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Ah! Whoa.
Wait, hey, there's Petra.
Hi. Oh my God.
How cool is this?
Hi. Is this lighting okay?
Hey, there's Rachel.
It's awesome. It was actually better before because you're backlit now.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. That's better.
Okay.
Hi, beautiful ladies, the Haden Triplets. We were just talking about your music and how important it is, especially right now, how it kind of has this nostalgia that's cellular. You don't even realize why. You feel so comforted by it. I think during these times where we're all in quarantine, but it's like brought me back to a time that I was never alive in, but that I felt comforted by hearing these songs. Like it connected me to some of my roots, it felt like. So thank you for making such a timely record. It's beautiful.
Well, I love your record.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Oh, Rain, I love your record.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't heard your record, so I feel bad now.
We can move off me right away. Why don't you all tell us and LaunchLeft listeners and watchers a little bit about your record and how you came to decide to make it, and I don't know, whatever you want to share. There's no real no specific question, but I'd love to hear from each of you, either about the band or the record, or how music found you as a child and what made you want to stay doing it.
We made this record with Ry Cooter, who we met when we played at this KPFK benefit. So we made this record with Ry, and we loved it so much, and we played some shows, we did some touring, and we kept talking about doing another record. I mean, it was always in my mind that I wanted to do another record. And Woody Jackson, our longtime friend, he one day just said, let's do a record, involve some of your grandfather's songs. We made a list of all these songs that we love. Like a Carter family song, and Woody made a list of some songs he thought would sound great for us to do a cover of. And we were in touch with our uncle Carl, our dad's older brother, who was in the Haden family radio show, who's still alive and who I talk to sometimes. I call him and he answers the phone. He's like, "You rascal." He's really funny. So he sent us, like, I don't know how many songs of our grandfather Carl's. He sent us the music. So Woody transcribed these songs and he recorded them, and we learned them. And so all of a sudden we have family songs on the record, which is incredible.
So cool.
Can I just say, though, it goes way back before Ry Cooter. I remember we went to high school together. I went to high school Crossroads with the Haden Triplets, and they were always super rad. They were my favorite people at the school.
Oh, stop it.
Rachel, Petra, and Tanya, and their big brother Josh. And they had this great musical family. And I saw you guys play back in the 90s as the Haden Triplets, and you guys were playing those like old, like Carter family songs and songs of that era, that kind of country, old country. And I got to tell you, these are some of the best shows. If you ever get a chance to see the Haden Triplets live, it's hypnotic. And they just played a show not too long ago at Zebulon in LA. And it was an incredible show. So it's the biggest bummer about the pandemic for me is that I was looking forward to seeing some more Haden Triplets, and those shows have been delayed.
Yeah, we had a little tour all set to. We were all ready and set to go.
Rad.
And everything just went went kaplooey.
Yeah.
In a blink of an eye, it all just went to.
Yeah.
It just all.
Everybody. I know.
It all disappeared.
But the good news is this record is so great. It's so you heard it, Rain. You know that there's just gems that you can hear the magic of the Haden Triplets on the Haden Family Songbook.
Yeah, get the record and listen to it. I would love to see you all live, and I know there'll be a day where we'll come out of quarantine and that you're just going to do a backyard concert at the very least, just for me, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
If you play also.
Oh, that's sweet. I mean, I would just love to see you all. I love harmony and family. My family's always been very musical. We make music together, not necessarily publicly, but we're always kind of been very musical. My brother River and I were very much together musically for most of his life. So I have an affinity to siblings that make music together because I think the voice blend is always a little bit more the DNA is closer, obviously.
Blood harmonies.
Yeah,
Can't be
exactly.
blood harmonies.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing. So I just am so glad that Jack recommended you all and that I got to hear your record. I mean, sometimes I just am in a vacuum and I don't listen to things, which is partially why I love doing LaunchLeft. Is there's so much music out there, and I want to know from the people that I trust who they're listening to. That was sort of what part of the impetus for starting it. It's a lot of things. It's also like a kind of form of activism to try to get artists together to talk about things, kindness in the community and collaboration, as opposed to competing all the time and, you know, being concerned that there's someone else who's going to get that tour or that job, as opposed to talking about what we share as artists and how hard it is to be a creative. And ultimately, like, those conversations are super important to me, which is why this has been fun, even via Zoom. It's like, to get all of you guys on. I don't know how easy this would have been if it was at a brick and mortar podcasting suite somewhere. I don't know if this would have happened. So
I wouldn't have been there yet. I would have been like, I'm in traffic. I'm gonna be a little late.
are you often like 5 minutes past the?
Yeah. I've been later. It's a problem. Maybe this is gonna help. But actually, I thought this being stuck at home would solve some internal problems, but it's not that. I realize it has nothing to, it's just, yeah. I was still late. I was like running around the house with the computer. Petra was texting me like, don't be late. I know, I have so much time. There's 7 minutes. Come on. And I'm editing a video and I'm making Tommy some food. Which was a lie because I was enjoying it.
Is it your experience, all of you, that time seems to have sped up? You know, in the past, like when I was a kid, it was excruciating how long days and weeks and months, right? And I now, like you, I used to always be right on time or 2 minutes early. I never want to make anyone wait. And now, even when I have that urgency, I somehow am 2 minutes late. And I think something's happened with the elasticity of the universe, or I don't know. But is it your experience too, or is it just me that everything is going way faster?
I feel that definitely everything is going very fast.
Things go so fast now. I can't keep up. I've like given up on trying to make sense of any time. I can remember when time used to be like you could just sit down and like concentrate on one thing, and or just zone out and think, like stare outside the bus window and think about things and listen to music or read a book. I don't think I've, oh my God. But now I'm always like, I gotta do this. I'm late. They're gonna be mad. I'm late. Oh my God. And then I start sweating and I'm I mean, I didn't even, we were going, remember when I was so late trying to get ready for Disneyland this weekend, I threw my back out. I was laying on my closet floor and I didn't even go.
We can get those times back again, honey.
No,
As soon as these kids grow up and go off into the world, the empty nesters, we will have time again.
I know, but then my back will hurt so much I won't be able to do it, you know.
That's when I reach for the Theragun. It's a new product that I've been using quite a lot lately. Just put that on the back, let it work.
I need that.
So how about this, Rachel? Tell me, tell me what it was like. You know, obviously you guys are all triplets. That's for a whole other conversation, because that's just amazing that you all were basically born. Sorry. And what was your first experience of music and wanting to be a part of its world?
Well, I think hearing when being really little and hearing our dad's music and hearing him play his bass and going to see him play live when we were really little kids, I was kind of hypnotized by like his bass sound and the harmonies that he would use and play, and I just remember being really little and just singing with Tanya and Petra, like in the car going to the movies or something, or we would always just sing. And sometimes we would spend the night at our grandparents' house, and we all slept in the back room, and there's 2 beds and a cot. And Tanya always was on the cot. Why was Tanya on the cot?
Yeah, Tanya, maybe that's why you have back trouble. Why were you always on the top?
I think I had a dream about that room last night.
Yeah, but we used to sing to each other.
So weird.
We used to sing like Kumbaya and stuff like that. And then I remember our grandparents would come into the room, and it was like 10 or 11 at night, and they'd come in and they'd say, "What is that singing? It's beautiful." And I remember at that age just feeling like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And so that's how it sort of started.
Good
And
job.
Oh my God, are we gonna get some blood harmonies right now on the show?
A little blood harmony moment. Yeah.
Yeah, look, you want to sing something, girls?
Just try to. It's never gonna work with the sync, but if you could do just one harmony, a 3-part harmony.
What if we did, but can I do a different, because when we were kids, I always did the low harmony. That's because I was like, oh, I'm so grumpy.
Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya.
I changed my mind. Can I do the low harmony again?
Okay.
Mommy!
Okay, 2, 3.
Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya.
Oh, this is hard. Everyone keeps, I can't keep.
We can
It
do
seems
it.
like Zoom only focuses on one voice at a time.
Oh.
Yeah. But I felt it. You know what I mean? I could feel the magic of the blood harmony.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I just have one question for Tanya about art, because I know that you also you're like multi-platform. That you weren't always just music, and I'm sure all 3 of you were not always just music. So pardon, that was not what I meant. But I do know that you do fine art, I think, and puppetry. So what was the first thing that found you? Was it music for you, or was it another kind of art form that brought you to creation?
Oh, I was always drawing when we were kids, and that was, I think, drawing came to me first. Rachel and Petra were always singing in harmony together. And yeah, God, no one's ever asked me that. It feels really good. Because I really struggle with singing, and I'm almost like I've never been quite, it didn't come as naturally to me, and so it was a little intimidating sometimes to sing when I would sing with Rachel and Petra, because I get really nervous, like so nervous I would have like anxiety, panic attacks. But drawing but then I also play the cello, so it's weird because it becomes, there was a point where people, friends who are in bands, and they're like, oh, we need cello. So I'd end up playing cello with people, and then when my sisters and I, when we would end up playing, then we would sing, and then I was trying to, it's hard to do everything at once, hence the time management problem. And puppets, like I've always had.
Tanya,
Hi, Richard.
When Richard rains, when Richard sings, forget about it. I mean, Richard has the best voice.
I do.
Can we hear a little Richard? A little Richard.
Come on, Richard. Sing the blues.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows the pain. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. And it feels like We didn't even mention, just one more thing, our mutual friend, Jackie G. We
Oh
call
my
him
God, Jackie G!
Yeah, he's our friend.
Jackie G wrote an incredible movie that I got to be in called Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he's our mutual friend.
We love
And he is also a great musician. And if you get a chance to check him out, but that makes me think, I got this rad painting that Gus Van Sant did of it's like a storyboard painting from the movie.
Yeah.
And that's me with your brother just going on a crazy drunken rampage.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember that scene. You were so fantastic in that movie, by the way.
Thanks.
We're talking about Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, and Jack Gibson, who, by the way, LaunchLeft is releasing his record.
Oh, nice.
The label, yeah. So
that'll be a
very
one to
much
check
love
in.
his music. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned
And
him.
I did some singing in that movie too. I have to.
Yes.
Right.
It's a
Right
great
on.
convergence of a lot of souls. So what do I do I get to pick the song?
Well, I think, I said Wayfaring Stranger because I thought it was so
Great.
good for right now. That's
Yes.
Quarantine.
Incredible.
But if you want to pick the song, you can.
Our grandmother used to sing that song to our dad when he was a baby.
Oh.
There's so many good songs on the record. The one that's in my mind right now is What Would You Give in Exchange for Your Soul? Because Tanya started cutting together a rad music video just from like the women in Donald Trump's life. There's footage of them like looking really dark and like, ugh.
I can't get that song out of my head now.
I just hope that she releases it someday. I don't know if she's ever going to put it out into the universe, but it's a dark masterpiece that needs to be seen, I think. But I love all the songs, so I'm gonna yes.
I'm the
Oh,
fourth.
God, I hate that photo.
Oh, God.
But seriously,
You have to change that backdrop. Oh, thank
Say
you.
You Will, Flee as a Bird, Pretty Baby, Every Time I Try. I mean, I can't decide. They're all so good. Wildwood Flower, are you kidding me?
I know it's such a special sharing, musical.
I'll fly
sharing.
away. I'll fly away. Oh,
What? How is that possible?
we're together.
I'm so
Oh my
confused.
God, that is so cool.
What's happening?
Uh-oh, I'm sorry. I'm creating a split in the time flux continuum.
That was so weird.
That was like a panic attack.
That was amazing. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been spend some quarantine time with you all. Thank you for sharing your music, your gifts, your light, your love with the world.
Thank you.
Here on LaunchLeft.
It was so fun. I could literally do this for hours.
I know, don't go.
We're just getting started, Rain. Hey, really? I love your being authentic to yourself message. I think that's a really important one in today's world.
Yeah, I thought. Well, I was as you were saying, like it's hard to balance, or like the most important thing is balancing the want to be the center of the universe, fame part of being a creative, and just the fact that you want to create things. And as you were saying that, it was a download where I was like, oh, maybe the shortcut is just be who you are, like be your creative. And then the other stuff either happens or doesn't. You're not focusing on it. You're focusing on like, I'm not going to fake it to make other people happy. I'm not going to try to be somebody. I am somebody. This is who I am. Like you were saying in auditions, which I really loved, which was like, and I had a moment where I realized that when I meet other people and I'm up for something, whether it's anything, right, that you're like kind of having to audition or show yourself to others, is like, it's you're bringing to them who you are. You're not trying to fit into what they're asking for, right? And so you either work for that project or you don't. But you're not going to, obviously you're trying to be another character, but you can't be another character and not be who you, authentic too. Like that was something that really helped me, is like I stopped trying to like, oh, it says on the paper do this way. It's like, well, actually I would do it this way. And so it helped me so much. So I really related to that. And I appreciate that you articulated that in terms of like the auditioning process. I just stopped auditioning to make it easy.
I just thought about it a lot while we were on with the triplets, because that's what I think is so great about them, is they are all so authentically themselves. They're not trying to be some commercial corporate like machine puppets that you're used to seeing all the time. That's part of their magic.
Yeah, follow that recipe and you'll have a record every 20 years. But we're fine with that. I'm just joking. It's hard. It's hard to do anything creative without feeling judged by yourself and the world.
Yeah.
But that's good advice. That's advice we all should remember and internalize and eat and digest and
I don't know if it comes with age or not, but I kind of, for me personally, just started not making it about me as much and about like, I've got a short time left. I have this body, this health, this, like I am alive and I can use my creative to help. So how can I do that? And I sort of ask that question with with the things that I do, is how can I help as opposed to what do I get or will I get somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
And so that just reoriented me to not be so like to need anything. It was more like what's coming through me that I can offer. So instead of asking, it was like giving. And sometimes it doesn't, like no one's going to resonate. And other times it might move people. But it's more just like a change. I had to reorient my mind, like me to art. Otherwise it did feel, it's depressing and it can be, demoralizing even at times to be like creating in a vacuum, it feels like. And as a musician, a lot of what LaunchLeft was to give the opportunity to musicians who might barely get listeners or streams or heard because there's so much stuff out there, to have the opportunity to get above the waterline because somebody well-known is tipping their hat towards you. That helps. And that helps that feeling of like, oh, I made all this. It took me a year to make a record and nobody's listening to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a hybrid of that, for me. It's like, what can I do to help? Even though I absolutely always feel that way too as an artist. It's like, am I just creating to and then I was like, well, what if we make it a thing where it's like we're celebrating artists that are making records in their closets that might never get listened to because they can't help it, because they're creative animals, because we all need to make things, because we care about art. Like we just have to make things. So that's what this is too, is a way to celebrate whether or not your record does ever, you know what I mean? Not you, but anyone's. Like it's more about celebrating the creative and how it helps us as artists to make things. It might not reach everyone, but it helped. And those artists should be highlighted because they're certainly not going to be on The Voice and American Idol. And, we're never going to hear about that on a big show.
I mean,
So.
that's the feeling I get when I'm always late. I think that's the state. That's the danger state. Because you're always like, I got to do this and that. And you're always trying. And it's like on your own hamster wheel. But maybe this pandemic isolation, as it's destroying, as horrible as it is, hopefully that, I mean, wouldn't it be amazing to emerge from this with that, just realizing that?
100%.
That didn't make sense, but it did.
Yeah, it did.
It did. I totally got it. I got the.
It's so exhausting, and it's so exhausting being a human, and it's just too much. Most people, if you give up and you don't continue, then that's sad. But then you realize if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you end up just as miserable.
Absolutely.
I'm upset because usually I record vocal stuff at home and my garage band isn't working because my computer is from 2012. And so my garage band keeps screwing up. So usually I'd be like, you know, maybe working on my King Crimson a cappella record.
Gotta stay current, Petra. That's what people say. You've got to stay current, and there's certain times you want to post on Instagram. It's really important that you stay current and you keep it up, because people forget you. They'll forget, and they do. And they do. But who fucking cares? I don't care. Why are we here?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to be somebody. You already are somebody. And now that you are somebody, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to offer that gift so that others can feel your thunder, right? That's like really all that it's about. I think reorienting as artists to what we can give instead of what, you know, do people love it like us? And are we doing what's relevant, like you said, or what's more, you know, like just more like, wow, I already am somebody, and what can I give, whether people like it or not. I want to come from that place, right? So where you're offering instead of needing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like I think Nina Simone said something about like, we have a gift. If you have a gift, it's like your duty to give it to the world. Otherwise you're doing a disservice. And I always liked that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, and sir, there's another quote. I did this, I botched it before. I think it was Muhammad Ali. That service is the rent you pay for your time here on earth, or something. You know?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Yes.
There's an Anna Eastman quote that just
Love
so good. What is that quote?
I know what you're talking about.
You know, when the pain, oh my God, I brought up a quote that I can't even tell you what it is. It's when she says, and it was then I realized that remaining in a bud was more painful than it. I want to look it up now.
That sounds like a song. Remaining in a bud is more painful.
Someone look it up. I don't know where my phone is.
Google that shit.
It's so good.
I know the quote. It is so.
I'm looking it up.
Okay, good, because it's worth it.
That's going to be the next generation of tech, when you can just say keywords, pain, bud, Google that shit,
Well,
and then immediately it pops up in your brain.
We don't have that Siri thing. You can. I don't know where my phone. I can't find my phone.
Here we go. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom.
That's the quote. The first time I read that, it just opened my brain, and then I just didn't listen to it, and it was.
You know what though? You're you did listen to it, and you still are listening to it, and it's like fucking life is just suffering. I'm sorry, it is, but it's also magic. So you know, all of it is true, and all of it is not true. All of it is a dream. It's you know, you don't have to. Nothing has to be that important, and everything is so important, and that's the magic of it all. It's like, you know, you definitely don't want to beat yourself up because you got this one little blip. Don't beat yourself up. You're too gorgeous to do that. Like your soul is too magic to do that.
What? Yes.
And I think that's true. That quote is so powerful because it's kind of saying that, like, you know, we can protect ourselves from our perceived suffering and horrors of the world by staying in, you know, or we can just blossom and feel all the pain and all the joy and know that we were really alive before we quickly extinguish, right? So it's like that's such a and the fact that that's the quote that it just shows what a flower you are, Miss. that's the one that was in your mind and heart, you know. Create the creative and art and singing using your voice, and the joy that Jack makes on his YouTube alone. Like my boyfriend and I were literally in stitches. Like we were binge watching it last night, and it was just like, wow, you're creating joy molecules, which is like one of my favorite things to talk about on the show. Is like, you know, that's what we need more of in a world, especially in general. But at this time where everyone is kind of scared and processing and home, and is more joy, like as much joy and not fear. We need love and joy. So how can like be a cause of manufacturing joy molecules and smiling at, you know, people walking by who are scared to be 6 feet from you and all that stuff is good.
I smiled at someone, but I realized I had a mask on.
I know. I know. That is a bummer that we can't even.
I saw a little kid. I was like, "Hi."
I know. Kids must be so confused, and you can only see people's eyes. I wore a Plants vs. Zombies mask to check the mail. It was kind of fun.
That is good.
What's that? I was like.
I don't know how protective that mask was, though, really. It was really more for comedy.
Yeah, I don't know either. And it was really hot, so I don't know if it's practical, but it was fun.
I got some good photographs of it, though, through the security camera.
I'm so grateful that we met, that this brought us together as human beings, because I love all of you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you, Jack, for introducing us. And
thank you, Rain. That was so fun.
Conversation. I never call it an interview. It's a conversation. So thank you for a great conversation, all of you.
Love you. See you again soon, I hope. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Jack Black, and I would love to launch the new Haden Triplets album, The Family Songbook, and the song in particular, Wayfaring Stranger.
I am a poor wayfaring stranger, a wandering through this world of woe, and there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright world to which I go. I'm going
LaunchLeft aims to create an intentional space that highlights and empowers all artists for whom radical creativity is not a choice, but a necessity. LaunchLeft begins with music, but its ultimate aim is to launch left-of-center artists in all creative fields.